Actually, yeah, this actually did actually end up turning into one of the hit attempts. And so I guess for the record, we'll just call this hit attempt number 3, part 2, the big pursuit. So anyway, what it was I got out of there. I was dripping, extremely heavy, extremely cold, stressed, shaking. I was a little concerned at this point because, I was like, well, what in the hell do these assholes want? Please forgive my language. And by this time, I kind of knew. And of course, the next couple of nights after that told the story of that. Like I said, I've never been wrong with this stuff, and it's sad because whenever I'm right about it, it usually means something not good on my part. But anyway, so with the helicopter now, with the spotlight entering the fray now, I have up above to think about, not just laterally. So, like, Jesus, man. And by this time, I just want to get back to my car, but they had that covered. And at this point, it's like 3 in the morning, I think. It's, all this is going on while people are sound asleep, literally. So I finally wound up about 100 to maybe 150 yards from the street, but I had to cross the street, and that thing was like 4 lanes wide. And then it was a pretty good ways past all of the gas pumps to the front of a convenience store, which was open, which I saw. So that's where I figured I'd try to make it for. But before that, of course, we had to have more fun, right? So here comes the helicopter, spotlight not yet on me, not knowing what they wanted. So after getting out of that ravine and all that water, and with the helicopter buzzing above, I had to dive back into another ravine, which was only about 4 feet deep, but there was no water there. So when they finally went as far as it seemed that they were going to go, I figured I was tired of this already. I was like, I'm just going to get up and walk over there and whatever. Well, sure enough, here comes the helicopter. And at this time, and this really, because I had been running at this point for quite a while. And this was the big test. So now they had a beat on me. They had the spotlight on me. So I literally had to sprint about 200 to 250 yards to make it there. There was one of the Dodge Black Chargers, as I was finally had come to the roadway to cross it, that literally went right in front of me. And he wasn't going fast, he was just going at normal speed. But when I waited for him to cross, which he did, to go ahead, ahead of me, and then when I crossed the street, that's when he absolutely floored it. And I mean just floored it. As fast as you can floor it without spinning your tires, because that would have made a lot more noise. But nevertheless, it was loud. And so it was obvious. You could tell. I had been spotted. Well, for getting out of my car now, don't forget, I had committed this huge bad act of getting out of my car. I don't know what that was. Anyway, well, it wasn't funny that night. But so anyway, I made it across the street. I finally got to the front, and by that time, that particular black Dodge Charger had accelerated as fast as he could, went up about maybe 50 to 60 yards, turned around, and then came back slow. Saw where I went, and I knew it, but I just went to the front of the convenience store and started pounding on the door. I didn't even think to see if it was unlocked. And it was. Thank God they were, open. But I pounded on the door first. I was like, hello, anybody in there? And don't forget, I had just sprinted about 250 yards. I'm heavy, as you can imagine, because of all the water. So I'm dripping so terribly bad. And when I finally pulled the door open and went in, I just said, look, I need to use your phone here. There's all these guys chasing me, and I don't know what's going on. So when I did that, by the time I'm in here, of course, now, because of the freaking, I won't use the word, they're not, they're just not worth as good of a word as I would use. But anyway, as soon as, Mr. Black Dodge Charger number, whatever he was, did his, spotting of me, and then went up, and of course, calling all whatever, converge on this convenience store. Did his little U-turn and came back. They all of a sudden you see all these cars, vehicles, all the Black Dodge Chargers, all these vehicles that belong to all these gang members. They converge at the convenience store. So they take up every single parking spot. That's quite a bit, because there was some at the front and some in the back of the gas pumps. They took up every one. And they're just waiting for me to come out. So I'm like, Jesus, what the heck is going on? Only thing I remember is just getting out of my car. That's all I remember, getting out of my vehicle. So I ended up calling the 911, and of course they hear it. So when they get a beat on that, they all leave. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's hopefully the end of it. Well, I should know better, because they're the ones that give the police their commands. So here I am for the first time in my life. Because of an extremely inhumane, unhumanitarian, illegal criminal act that caused me and my family at this point. But thank God they weren't there at the time. But to be homeless, literally, for the first time in my life, and after just sprinting 250 yards, trying to figure out what the hell these idiots want, and very quickly of it settling in what that was. I mean, just imagine, use your imagination. And this is only the beginning. This is, only the beginning. Anyway, so I told the police my story, and he saw literally that I was soaking wet. And I was dripping so bad, I told the store manager, I said, I'll go stand by the door on the carpet. Well, it was so much that it was flooding the carpet and starting to spill over onto the floor. So he finally asked me to wait outside. And I'm like, well, there's... So in the meantime, the police got there, told them what happened, and just before they got there, everybody left. Well, of course, they said, well, with nobody here, we can't really do anything, blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. Well, they leave, and all they do is all those idiots go right back into all their parking spaces. So now what do you do? Well, first of all, I'm just sick of it at this point. So, well, because to get out of this one, you're literally going to need an armed escort. You're going to need a secured escort with witnesses around to get out of this. So I just and by the way, while I was in here, and this is probably going to be one of the most important parts of this. And, well, please listen. This was one of them that I saw. This one individual comes in there who I could have sworn had on a different type of, let's just call it metropolitan uniform clothing another night. All of a sudden comes into this place to see, what I'm doing with a fireman's jacket on. A fireman's jacket on. And then, the next time you see him, he's got a policeman's jacket on. Next time you see him, I mean, and it's actually from that city specifically, So, they've got pull, commanding pull of whichever police department, fire department, whatever department wherever they're at. And I don't know how many jackets I ended up seeing that same guy wearing, but every time, just like everybody else who did anything to me, they always had this. They were all, of course, very sinister looking. I had a pretty, let's just say, forgive my language, damn good idea, like I said before, where they were from. But, all these, what I call higher ranking guys or upper ranking guys, they were all white guys, very sinister looking, and they all had this very just A1 asshole smiling smirk on every single one of their faces, as if it were amusing. All the hell that, I was having to go through just to stay alive, that they were causing, by the way. And every one of them had this smiling smirk on their face. And these are the same blankety blanks that still are influencing and making calls to manipulate things in my everyday life, even as of today. And, I never did a thing to hurt these people, or beings, actually, is what I call them. So it's only because of what I'm familiar with and what I know, that's all. But anyhow, I got to end this one here. So I will tell you how eventually I ended up exiting that particular place where they had me at that point, because I was genuinely hurting. At that point, everything was just hurting. So after thinking about it just about a minute or two, and remember, I'm going to need an armed or a secure vehicle escort out of here. So I just called an ambulance. And, what are they going to do when the ambulance gets there and takes me away? Pull back into their parking stalls? No, what they did is eventually follow me to the hospital. Like I said, it was just on and on and on and on and on. And, unbelievable high treason that these people have committed. But anyway, that's going to wrap up, I guess, what I'll call the hit attempt number 3. God bless all of you. Take care. I love you. Each and every one of you. Take care. Bye-bye.